Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 249 for June 21st, 2022. I'm your host, Randy Snow. On today's show, the New Orleans Saints unveil a new helmet for the upcoming season, and this year's Grey Cup game in the Canadian Football League is almost sold out already. In this week's history lesson, we tell the story of 6 NFL teams that have never had a league MVP. But I'm not here by myself, and across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Hello, hello. You're welcome for me inspiring today's history lesson.
Yeah, that's right. You gave me this, you read it somewhere, and I looked into it, and...
Yeah, it's been in a couple spots, a couple of, I don't know if it was CBS Sports or Fox Sports,
Yep.
Every summer, when the football season's kind of died down, they find little nuggets like this that kind of make it out.
Yep.
So you come across it and you stew on it a little bit and you go, I think that might be an interesting history lesson. And then by you, I mean me. And then I was like, you know what, I'm going to tell you about it. Then I told you about it.
And I agreed.
Then you stewed on it and then you made it.
Yep. So,
Very fascinating to think that only 6 teams.
Yeah.
Only 6 teams don't have an MVP. Like, I find that weird. And they're not the teams you'd think I would. There's a couple of teams I'm like, really? They never. So I'll let you get to your history lesson. I haven't heard it yet. So we'll see when we get there.
Okay. We come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football, while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube, where we post the entire audio portion of this show, as well as other selected videos. So, let's begin today's show with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right. Can you believe it? We're already in week 2 of the Canadian Football League season. And
I watched my first game last week.
Oh, yeah. I caught a little bit of highlights over the weekend. A little more than week 1, but I'm curious to see what game you watched, and I'm sure we'll get into that in a second.
Yep.
We had the typical 4 games over 3 nights. So Thursday night started with the Toronto Argonauts defeating the Montreal Alouettes 20-19. Of course, this is Toronto's first game of the season because they had a bye week 1. But Montreal kicker David Cote missed a 21-yard field goal with 18 seconds left to play. He made 4 others during the game, so that helped Toronto just squeak out with that victory there.
That was an exciting ending. That was the game I watched.
Okay.
And that was the first full game that I've watched this
I know
year.
we can kind of consider ourselves Argo fans first,
right,
just because of, I think we go there a little more than Hamilton.
Right.
But
and the first week, I had a tough time finding him on regular TV. I mean, I could have pulled out my laptop and watched it on ESPN Plus, which I've done many times.
You can do it on your TV too, just so you know.
Yeah, well, that uses up bandwidth that we don't have a lot of. So, but no, I found this on ESPN 2, I think it was. But yeah, the whole game was there. I watched the whole thing and really enjoyed myself. Really exciting ending, very close. Had he made that field goal, they probably would have lost that game. But Toronto was in control most of the game, and Montreal came back to make it close at the end. So a lot of fun. Glad I watched it, and I can't wait to watch some more.
Yep. All right, and then on Friday night, we had a rematch from Week 1, but this saw the same results as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers took out the Ottawa Red Blacks 19-12. For me, this was the game I caught some of, and I know it looked like Ottawa definitely had the Blue Bombers number for the first half at least.
Yeah, it was close in the beginning, yep.
It was close at the beginning of the game, and I was a little surprised. I think I ended up doing something else Friday night. What did I do? I think I had to work the next day, so I called it a night early. So after that first half, I guess then it was all Blue Bombers. So the champs, 2-time champs, getting 2 in a row to start the season. All right, then on Saturday, the Calgary Stampeders took down the Hamilton Tiger Cats in a close game that went to overtime. Final score there, 33-30. How about that? This was the annual Hall of Fame game for the CFL, but this was a special one because it was inducting the class of 2020 and 2021, officially inducting them that night. The Hall of Fame game for the class of 22 will be later this year in September. But how about that? Calgary squeaking by with a, I don't know if they scored a field goal in that overtime or not, but only
Yeah,
3-point difference there.
I did not watch this game. This was one I wanted to watch because it was a Hall of Fame game, but I could not find it on regular TV, so I didn't actually get to see that. And I really didn't see any highlights until earlier today, and that was just of the ceremony, which took place Friday night before the game. But yeah, Marv Levy was one of the ones that was inducted, becoming just the third player to be inducted in the NFL and the CFL Hall of Fames. He was not there in Hamilton. He recorded a video. I don't know if it was live, but he was on the screen from wherever he's living, probably in Buffalo somewhere. But he looked good, but he just said he wasn't able to be there, and he was sorry that he wasn't, and thanked everybody, for his time in the CFL, coaching with the Montreal Alouettes and winning some Grey Cups up there, I believe. So yeah. Like I said, that was Friday night before the game, and that's usually what they do. And it's in Hamilton because the Hall of Fame used to be in a building downtown, and now it's actually in the stadium on the second level. But yeah, they get to unveil their bus and everything. So yeah, so they're going to have 2 Hall of Fame games this year up in the CFL.
All right, and then finally, the second of that doubleheader Saturday, Saskatchewan, the Rough Riders took out the Edmonton Elks 26-16. Those poor Elks just can't get a W to save their lives.
Just got a slow start this year.
They looked like they played them tough for a little bit, but man, Saskatchewan, there was a couple of highlights I saw where Saskatchewan just pretty much blew the doors off of them. Like, it just seemed like they were just out-physicaled, and the ball just seemed to bounce Saskatchewan's way every highlight I saw. So a little bummed. I was really hoping for Edmonton to turn things around this year, but... Hey, Saskatchewan starting off 2-0 to start the season, so not bad for them.
Yep.
And then on bye this week, the British Columbia Lions, who had that big win last week, and they will host the 1-0 Toronto Argonauts next Saturday for a battle of unbeaten. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, and I guess we're going to hop down and see some CFL standings 2 weeks in. In the East, the Argonauts getting their first win, sit at the top with that 1-0 record. And then... 3 teams at 0-2 round out the East. So that's Ottawa, Hamilton, and Montreal, all 0-2. On the West, well, you got nothing but unbeatens over there, except for the last place team. At 2-0, the Rough Riders of Saskatchewan, the Blue Bombers of Winnipeg, and the Calgary Stampeders, all at 2-0 there in the West, followed by the British Columbia Lions at 1-0, and then rounding out the division, the 0-2 Edmonton Elks. So, yeah, it's early in the season, but just a little jarring to see a bunch of winless teams on one side and a bunch of undefeated teams on the other.
I debated on putting up the standings this early. I mean, only 2 weeks in.
Usually we wait till about 3 or 4 or 5 weeks in.
Yeah, but I thought, what the heck? We've got a couple other leagues that are going to be falling off here pretty soon because their seasons are ending. So we've got time. So what the heck?
Yep. All right, and we're going to move into the Week 10 of the USFL. It is their last week of their regular season. And I guess we'll get to it in a second, but there was a big rule change that happened going into this week in the USFL.
Oh, that's right.
But I guess we'll cover that when we get to that game.
Yeah, I made a note of that. Yeah.
But first, we had 2 games Saturday, 2 games on Sunday. The first game being the New Jersey Generals taking out the Philadelphia Stars 26-23 in a close game there.
Yep.
The Birmingham Stallions took out the Tampa Bay Bandits 21-18. Then on Sunday night, the Houston Gamblers took down the New Orleans Breakers 20-3. And the game that started off Sunday, the game that had the rule changed, the 2 teams that came into the game 1-8.
Yep.
So the league decided to change their rule for next season, which is the lowest. Obviously, the team with the worst record gets the first draft pick. That's how it is in most sports leagues, except for hockey and basketball, who do that weird draft lottery thing.
Right.
So we all just assumed, hey, worst league record here gets the first pick next year. Not a big deal, right? Well, they claimed that this was a special circumstance because both teams, the loser would essentially get the number 1 pick. So to avoid any sort of tanking, to avoid any sort of just terrible gameplay, they decided that the winner of this game between the Michigan Panthers and Pittsburgh Maulers would get the number 1 pick for the draft. So even if the loser had a worse record, they're going to get the number 2 overall pick now.
In every round of the draft.
In every round of the draft, which is insane to me because I get it. I get you don't want tanking, but at the same time, it's like I feel like both of these teams would want to go out and just win a game.
Yeah.
I think the league maybe I get what they were doing, but I don't think it was the right move.
Well, when I first heard about this, I did not like it at all. And then when you pointed out that it was to stop one team from throwing the game just so they could get draft picks next year, in the first spot in each round, I got thinking about it, and I thought, well, that does kind of make sense. Both teams have something to play for in this game. And
I guess, but my thing is, you're the USFL. You're not the NFL.
I know it.
Your draft picks aren't going to be the cream of the crop.
I know.
Arch Manning coming out of college. The number 1 overall pick of last year's USFL draft, what happened to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cut by the team and signed by another team.
Yeah, signed by a different team. And I don't even know if he's had any playing time since.
I think he has.
Maybe he has a little bit, but obviously hasn't lived up to the, quote, number 1 pick status.
Right, sure.
At this point, I think it's irrelevant, the number 1 pick. So I think they shouldn't have changed the rule for this. It was I feel like it's just a gimmick to get eyes on the game because who's going to watch the 2 worst teams?
Hey, I watched this game just because it was the Michigan Panthers. I watched the whole game, and it was a good game. The Panthers came out. I think they had like a 21-0 lead in the first half, and then Pittsburgh started to come back, and they made a game of it in the third quarter. But by the end, Michigan was just a little bit too much for them.
Yeah, that's right. The Michigan Panthers pulled away and got the victory over the Maulers, 33-21, giving the Panthers 2 wins on the season. I believe both of them are against
wins.
I believe both of them are against the Maulers.
I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So, tough sledding this season for both those teams. And then if you're Pittsburgh, their head coach, I think a lot of people got to be looking at him like, really, your team went 1-9 and you're going to stick by the fact that you cut a guy over pizza, that the guy wanted week 1. Like, just ridiculous stuff. So,
well, the Panthers head coach was Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
And, he's got quite an NFL pedigree, and all he could manage was 2 wins over one team.
But, I mean, the Panthers played so many close games. They only lost by a handful of points.
They were in just about every game.
Yeah,
they weren't blown out by anybody, I don't think.
They might have one blowout. But other than that, they played pretty close. But hey, whatever. It's the USFL final week. It's done. So a lot of these teams get to take a break, and the playoffs start this weekend. And we'll talk about those matchups in a second. But first, I guess here's the final standings for the year. In the North, the North champion, the New Jersey Generals at 9-1, followed by the Philadelphia Stars at 6-4. The Michigan Panthers at 2-8, who will get the number 1 overall pick in every round of the draft. Then the Pittsburgh Maulers at 1-9. In the South, the Birmingham Stallions won the South Championship or division. I don't know if they gave them actual titles or not, but we'll call them the champs of the South for now. At 9-1, followed by the New Orleans Breakers at 6-4, the Tampa Bay Bandits at 4-6, and the Houston Gamblers at 3-7. So the playoffs start next weekend in Canton, Ohio. So hey, for these guys, at least they get to change of scenery a little bit.
Yep.
So it'll be Saturday night. We'll see the New Jersey Generals take on the Philadelphia Stars for maybe the North title, officially.
Yep.
And then the Birmingham Stallions will take on the New Orleans Breakers for the South Championship. The winners will go on to the first USFL Championship game, whatever they're going to end up calling it, which we finally officially have tickets for.
Yes, I
finally stinking time.
Finally got our tickets.
Too late to get a stinking luxury suite, though.
Well, yeah, I didn't realize how small their, I don't know what they called it, preferred seating or what they...
General admittance?
Well, no, the preferred seating was a small area. It was only 4 sections, and those tickets were like $40. And, more amenities, I guess. I don't know what.
I bet you those seats get cup holders, and we're going to miss out on that.
But, yeah, we had to go with the general admission seats, but... whatever, we're going to be there.
We're going to be there. We're going to get all the cool swag and maybe even throw up a video of our time there at the USFL Championship. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see what our social media team decides to do. All right, moving on. The Indoor Football League, it's Week 15 there, and we had games across the weekend, Friday and Saturday, starting with a doubleheader on Friday, which saw the Quad City Steamwheelers defeat the Bismarck Bucks 46-36. Then the Green Bay Blizzard took out the Sioux Falls Storm 42-40 in a close game there.
A couple of close games this week.
Yes, and on Saturday, the Arizona Rattlers pretty much dominated the Duke City Gladiators 58-38. The Frisco Fighters took out the Iowa Barnstormers 62-42. The Tucson Sugar Skulls defeated the Vegas Nighthawks by a touchdown, defeating them 39-32. Then the San Diego Strike Force got a win over the Bay Area Panthers 66-26. On bye this week, the defending champion Massachusetts Pirates and the league best record in the Northern Arizona Wranglers. So
yeah, you notice that all but one of these scores, they all ended with the same number, 46-36. 58-38, 62-42, 66-26.
4 of the 6 games.
Yeah.
But, and I guess, the Northern Arizona Wranglers had the best record before the Frisco Fighters got a victory because in the standings, in the East, the Frisco Fighters have the best record in the league at the moment with an 11-2 record in the East and in the whole league. Following them in the East, the Massachusetts Pirates at 8-4, the Sioux Falls Storm at 7-6, as well as the Quad City Steamwheelers at 7-6. The Iowa Barnstormers at 500 with a 6-6 record, the Green Bay Blizzard at 6-8, and the Bismarck Bucks at 3-11. On the west side, you have those Wranglers we were talking about with a 10-2 record, followed by the Arizona Wranglers at Arizona Rattlers. Wow, that's what you get when the top 3 teams are from Arizona.
Yeah.
So the Arizona Rattlers are in second place in the West with a 10-3 record. The Tucson Sugar Skulls at 7-5, the Duke City Gladiators at 6-7. The 5-8 Vegas Nighthawks, the 3-10 San Diego Strike Force, and the 1-12 Bay Area Panthers.
Yeah. Before we go on to the next set of scores in the CIF, I did see an article and I reposted it on our Twitter feed, I believe, where it was about the IFL and possible expansion next year by 2 teams. One of them we've known for a while is going to be the Columbus Wild Dogs.
Yeah.
Playing where the Columbus Destroyers played a few years ago. But another one that they mentioned, and again, this is, I don't know if this is totally true or if it's just a rumor, but they mentioned the Colorado Crush as a possible team. It's, instead of coming up with their own teams, they're like taking teams that already have a name and image.
Brand recognition.
Right, a brand
recognition.
But is it
because there were 2 different Colorado Crush teams, technically. There was the arena football version,
right,
and then there was that other indoor team.
I don't know if it was IFL.
They were like the Colorado Ice first, then they changed their name to the Crush after
Right.
the Crush folded, I think.
Right.
So,
but that is one. They're talking 2 possible expansion teams for next year, going from I think 14 to 16 games, which would make things easier for scheduling purposes and whatever. So Columbus Wild Dogs, been talking about for a year or 2. They were supposed to start last year, but because of COVID, they decided to wait another year.
Yeah.
And now possibly bringing back the Colorado Crush.
yeah, well, we'll see about that.
Yep.
It kind of depresses me seeing all these former arena teams pop
I know
up in this
you
league.
can look through all these leagues and you can pick out a couple that have ties to the Arena Football League. All right, moving on to Champions Indoor Football. The semifinal round was played last weekend. Number 4 Omaha Beef upset the number 1 seeded Sioux City Bandits 49-45. That's a bit of a surprise. And in the second game, the number 2 Salina Liberty defeated the number 3 Billings Outlaws 26-14. So that sets up this Saturday's championship game. I believe it's Champions Bowl 7. I meant to make a note of that, but I did see that somewhere. Champions Bowl 7. The number 2 Salina Liberty are going to host the number 4 Omaha Beef in Salina, Kansas. So championship game set up for this Saturday night in Kansas for the Champions Indoor Football. All right, National Arena League. This is week 9 of their season. 2 games on Friday, 1 on Saturday. On Friday night, it was the Columbus Lions over the Jacksonville Sharks, 43-33. The San Antonio Gunslingers over the Orlando Predators, 55-53 in a very close game. And the Carolina Cobras on Saturday defeated the Albany Empire 59-56. There's a couple of really close games there in that league. And so looking at the standings, the Carolina Cobras are on top of the league with a 7-2 record. Columbus Lions at 4-3, Albany Empire at 4-4, Jacksonville Sharks at 4-5, Orlando Predators 3-5, and the San Antonio Gunslingers improved to 2-5 with 2 straight wins after starting the season with an 0-5 record.
Yeah, watch out for them red hot gunslingers.
Well, they've been close.
They've had a couple close games.
They've been very close in several games. They just couldn't get over the hump. So maybe they're putting it all together now. We shall see. And that is it for this week's World of Football scoreboard. So many games and
I know,
all over the place.
But I mean, now you got the CIF winding down. We'll have the championship game coming up. So.
USFL will be done in a couple weeks.
Yeah, so
all we're going to have is CFL, and I think the IFL's got a few more weeks of the regular season.
Yeah,
before
they
get into
play
the
like,
playoffs.
what, 18 weeks or something
I think
crazy
so.
like that?
Yeah.
And then the National Arena League, they play at least 15 weeks or something crazy like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, a couple of indoor leagues still going, and a couple ending relatively soon. All right, moving on to some NFL news. The New Orleans Saints unveiled a black helmet that will be used at least once during the upcoming season. You saw this?
Oh yeah, I saw this.
Did you see the video of the one guy that was holding it up and talking about it?
I didn't hear him talk about it. I saw a bunch of pictures of the uniform they would wear with the helmet.
Yeah, no, there was a video that I posted.
Okay. I hadn't seen the video.
And the guy's holding up the helmet and he's turning it all around. The stripe down the middle is a whole lot of little fleur-de-lis.
Yeah, the little fleur-de-lis
Yep,
or
it's
whatever
pretty
they're
cool.
called. Yeah.
It's a really, really nice looking helmet. And when we first saw this, we didn't think that they'd ever used this before. But
I wasn't sure. I mean, I'd seen, you see all the different mock-up, fan mock-ups
Right.
people make of helmets and
Sure,
stuff.
yeah.
So I kept going like, did they have a black helmet? I know I've seen one somewhere, but I don't know if it was legit or what. But apparently they did it one time, didn't they?
Yes, they wore a black helmet during the 1969 preseason, and that's the only other time they've worn anything other than the gold helmet that we're all familiar with. So, actually, looking forward to seeing that.
It's actually so. This
really
is
sharp looking.
This I think it looks okay. I don't think it looks great. I wish they'd kind of put that with their all black uniform. I think they could probably still change their mind. I mean, I don't know how far in advance they have to give notice to the league or whoever to do this. I'm excited. So, I haven't bought a Madden video game in a while. Now with all these teams kind of changing up helmets, I mean, you could always do that in the past. You've never played Madden.
No,
but
I don't.
you could always kind of mix and match like old school uniforms for each team. And to have some of these new helmets coming in, I think that'll be fun to see those incorporated into the video game. But I'm also curious to see, because they only said they're using it for one game this season, this helmet. I'm curious to see if they change that or if they do it some more, depending. I don't know how all that works. I'd like to see it, in live action games, game speed.
Sure.
But this is the kind of thing I might not dig this particular helmet a whole lot. I kind of like that stripe that's made of all the fleur-de-lis, or however you pronounce that.
Fleur-de-lis.
Fleur-de-lis, whatever. But I think that aspect is kind of cool. But I kind of want to see more of that kind of out of the box. Like, who would have thought of putting a stripe that was made of just that down the helmet?
Right.
I'd like to see more teams do that. If you're going to do an alternate helmet, do something kind of cool with it. Like, I like that the Saints, they're like, black helmet. What do you do to make it kind of stand out? Okay, we'll do this kind of stripe, which is kind of cool, but I like to see a little more, not uniqueness, but, just little touches like that, I think.
Right, and it's very respectful to the team history, I think. It's nothing too outlandish. It's not something where you look at it, and go, oh, my God, that's awful.
It's not like a team deciding to do, half gold, half black, in their helmet, like a certain Jacksonville team that we will not mention.
Right.
Or what the Falcons have been doing with their home uniform, that red gradient going into black or whatever, which is a weird design choice. But that's Nike, too. And hey, I did think of something I think I'm going to do a video on because didn't we talk last week about the Philadelphia Eagles changing their team font, like the word mark?
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't. I think I'm going to do a video or a rant. We got we usually have Randy's rants on this show. I think I've got a rant about the sterilization of the NFL because there's just so much, like all these cool word marks that teams used to have. Like, hey, remember when the Lions at least had that cool kind of fancy font back in the 90s?
Yeah, kind of like the Old English lettering.
Yeah, kind of Old English-ish, but not really. Then they transitioned to the font when Matt Stafford got drafted, kind of a little more,
block.
Not block, but it kind of had some curves in it, like a lion's tail kind of in it, which was kind of unique. And then now it's just standard text, which is what it looks like the Eagles did. And I am not for, like, that old Eagles text was so kind of, not classic, but I mean, it's been around since the 90s. I
Very
remember
recognizable. The minute you saw it, you knew.
And it's
Philadelphia
what you
Eagles.
associate with the team. And now they go from that kind of unique word mark, or however they call it now, to this basic, like you could go on Word and make this font pretty much. And it's bugging me, like, that. I don't know who's coming up with this. It's not Nike because they're doing the uniform. So some sort of branding company or whoever is helping these teams design all this stuff I like minimalist stuff, but there's some of this stuff in these these teams that just don't touch it. The Eagles, that uniform that they changed to in the mid 90s, I know it was a bit like of a jarring thing at first because they went from that bright green to the darker green and the sharper eagle wing on the helmet, and I think after a year everybody's like, that's actually kind of cool, and it fit the Eagles, and they've rocked that look for 20, almost 30 years, and now all of a sudden they're changing just the word mark. I'm like, I don't get that at all.
I don't like change just for the sake of change. I hate change, period. You know me. I hate anything that's different.
It's not like they're not selling any, more T-shirts because like now
Yeah.
now I have to get the new T-shirt with the new font on
Yeah.
it. Give me a break. Like that should be irrelevant. Like your team font should be your team font, unless you're gonna do a whole top to bottom change. That like the Lions kind of did. Like they tweaked everything when they went from the Matt Stafford era uniform to the kind of their new. I don't even know what you'd call it. They're the most recent uniform change. They kind of did a top to bottom tweaking of everything. And as far as I know, the Eagles haven't tweaked anything with their uniform other than adding a black helmet, which we have yet to see yet. And now they're changing the word mark. I know the Patriots changed their word mark several years ago, and they didn't change a thing about them. So I don't get it. Just leave everything the way it is. It's fine. They look good, and I don't know. So I just think that's weird, and I might have to do a big old rant about all these changes, how teams went from these unique, really cool fonts or word marks to just here's some Microsoft Word Times New Roman text or whatever you want to call the font,
like they did with the Super Bowl logos.
Oh, don't even give me. That's a whole chapter in and of itself. Shoot, this could be a whole book.
Yeah.
The sterilization of the NFL.
Oh yeah.
So I'll get off my soapbox. What's next?
Okay. And we don't always talk about rumors.
Oh, please. This show is nothing but rumors.
No, I really don't like getting into rumors. I want to talk about things that I know are going to happen, but this rumor popped up in the last day or so, and I just am shaking my head. Are the Cleveland Browns looking to build a new stadium?
I don't know. Are they? I thought
You
this
said
was
you
just a
hadn't.
rumor.
You said you hadn't heard this.
I hadn't heard this, no.
But I've heard about the last 2 days. There's talk that they want to develop 70 acres of land along the waterfront to build a new stadium. I guess the owner's not happy. Says that his stadium isn't high tech enough or whatever. It's only
renovate it.
It's only 23 years old. It's about as old as Ford Field,
Yeah.
And
look, in Ford Field, they did a lot of cool stuff.
Oh, yeah.
The last few years to kind of make it a little more sleek, I guess.
Right.
But I mean, they still kept that same. I love Ford Field. Ford Field's such a unique stadium, but they've added some amenities to it that make it a little more like not high class, but like a little more modern, which is kind of cool. And but it doesn't totally take away from the cool experience they've already built into that stadium. Now, I've never been to Cleveland. You have to see the stadium.
The stadium is fine. It's a nice stadium.
Now hold on. Now, since I've never been there, is it more along the lines of a Ford Field, or is it more along the lines of like the stadium where the Panthers play?
It's more like the Carolina Panthers stadium.
Ew, yep, they need to change it. I'm only saying that because we've been to the Carolina Panthers stadium, and that was very Silver Dome-esque.
Well,
very, very old school. A lot of concrete. Very boring.
Yes, but I think if the sight lines are good, if the seats are decent, and if the Wi-Fi connection is good, because that's what they did at Ford Field. They upgraded the Wi-Fi connection there. They put a lot of money to put routers or whatever all over the place, so you got a good
and they've
connection
upgraded the video
through.
boards indoors, and a couple of their big signs they really updated.
Yep.
So I think that's all Cleveland would really need to do.
Yeah.
You don't need to build a whole new stadium. Just upgrade a couple of upgrades goes a long way. Like, look, Ford Field's been around since 2002, 2003. I want to say 2002, but I could be wrong.
In 2002, I think was the first season.
Okay, first season. So let's say 2002, doors open.
Right.
So the Ford Field is now 20 years old.
Right.
And this stadium that they're looking at is only a couple years older.
23, I think. Is
So
what I've read.
I don't see. You just need a couple upgrades.
Yeah.
Like unless your
And
stadium's falling apart at the seams.
And I don't hear the fans saying that the stadium is no good. They're
never
packing that place. They got a bad team, but they're still packing the place, and people love that team. I just think this is totally ridiculous.
Yeah,
to
just
be
listen
thinking
to
about a
your
new stadium
fans
at
and
this
just
time.
upgrade a couple of things.
Sure.
Whether it's putting a big trough in the bathroom for the dudes, because we all like peeing in a trough for some reason.
No, we don't.
I don't know what you're talking about. I love peeing in a trough.
Western Michigan has one of those at their
Do
stadium.
they? I've never been
Yes,
to Western
and
Michigan.
I have avoided it for years, but last game I was at, man, I couldn't take it anymore, so I actually had to use
I don't think
it.
I've ever taken
that.
a bathroom break at a Western game, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Not fun.
Anyway, but like if it's troughs in the men's room or just upgrading like a couple of stadium boards or revamping some of your vendor stands, like that could go a
some
long
new vendors
way.
in there with some different food, whatever, stuff, local stuff that the people love there.
If there's some seat sections that maybe you want to upgrade to like, we're going to put in some nice plushy, comfortable seat. Like, do that. There's no reason to just spend billions of dollars on a brand new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have, I think the stadium is located in a decent spot.
It's right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it's right on the lake shore.
Yeah, so I don't see why you would need to do anything that dramatic. Just a few upgrades goes a long way. If this rumor is true, by the way, I haven't seen any confirmation of it. So
yeah, they could probably use a parking ramp near the stadium.
There you go. See, hey, look,
accommodate some of the things.
Excuse me, Mr. or Mrs. Brown's owner. All we need is a parking garage right there. That'd do a world of good.
Right. More people could park closer to the stadium and wouldn't have to park.
Yeah,
several
don't spend
blocks
$4 billion
downtown.
on a whole new stadium that also doesn't have a parking garage. Just give us a parking garage. That's all we need.
Yeah, but yeah, when I saw this, I just shook my head. So it's just kind of a rumor right now, but I hope it's not true because there's nothing wrong with the Cleveland Browns Stadium.
See, the only stadium rumors I've heard
that they can't fix in place.
Yeah, the only stadium rumors I've heard is either the Washington, obviously, which we talked about several weeks ago, and then the Bears. There's been a lot of talk about the Bears moving out of Chicago and Soldier Field and getting a new stadium. So we'll see. I don't know if I believe that 100%, but that at least I've heard that rumor. I can't speak to this Cleveland one.
Yeah, this is brand new. I just heard it yesterday for the first time. All right, moving on to some CFL news. Tickets for the 109th Grey Cup game in Saskatchewan, which is going to be played on November 20th this year, are 95% sold out already, just days after they went on sale to the public.
Man,
so I think it was only 2-3 days ago that I saw an email that said, yeah, we're offering tickets to the public already. Boom, 95% sold out, and it's in Saskatchewan, so. The local people there, they got a 2-0 team right now, so I can imagine they all are hoping that
they're biting into the hype.
Their
2
team
weeks in.
is going to, go to the Grey Cup game, and so they'll get to cheer on their home team in their home stadium.
I mean, shoot, you buy the tickets now, and if your team makes it great, if they don't, you just turn around and sell them close to the Grey Cup time.
Well, with 11 teams, they rotate the Grey Cup every year to a different CFL team.
It's only like 9 teams.
Well, I'm sorry, 9 teams. So every 9 years, you're gonna get a Grey Cup game, and that's about right. Every 9 years you get the championship game right in your home stadium. Why wouldn't you want to go to it every time?
And you have a 1 in 9 chance of having your team be in the game. Yeah. So I like those odds. And shoot, I'm surprised we haven't gotten. Are we waiting for the British Columbia hosted one to go to because they at least got a dome?
I don't know. I wanted to go to the 100th Grey Cup, which was in Toronto, and that was at the Rogers Center.
Yeah.
I tried to get press passes for that game and. Got turned down.
Of course you did.
Whatever.
See, that's why we got to keep building our YouTube presence. Maybe we can at least get one credential. Dang. Yeah. Otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know if Toronto ever gets another Grey Cup game, which I'm sure they will. I don't know if they would play that at BMO Field or if they would make it
go back to Rogers Center
because it would be a dome stadium.
I don't know. Guess we'd have to find out. I don't think they would. Sure. I feel like it would have to be a permanent stadium that's part of the 9 teams.
Not necessarily.
Really?
I think in Toronto they've played some games in a dome stadium, but they don't play their regular season there.
Our Canadian fans out there, brethren, let us know.
Tell me how I'm wrong.
Yeah, hit Randy up and tell him if there's been
correct me. I don't mind being corrected if I'm wrong, but it seems like the last time there was a Grey Cup in Toronto, I swore that it was at. What's that dome stadium? The Olympic Stadium, which is where they played for many years, but now they're in a different venue.
Okay.
So I don't know if...
I'm sure somebody will give you a confirmation on that.
Yeah, I'd like to know. Correct me. Looking forward to it.
I love it when you correct Randy.
Yes, you do. All right, moving on to some college news. I saw this the other day. The Army-Navy game will be played in 5 different cities between 2023 and 2027. Now, over the years, it's been many places. I think one year it was in Chicago. Another year, I think it was all the way out in Los Angeles. But for the most part, it's all on the East Coast. But for most of the time, it has been at Franklin Field in Philadelphia. I mean, every year you can count on it that it's going to be right there. And so now they've come out with a schedule. In 2023, it's going to be in the Boston-Foxborough area. In 2024, it's going to be in the Washington, D.C., Landover, Maryland area. 2025 is going to be played in Baltimore. New York City and the East Rutherford, New Jersey area in 2026. And finally, in 2027, it's coming back to Philadelphia.
Oh, so they're taking this game on the road, huh?
But still, it's all there on the East Coast, not too far from the two academies. But that's my bucket list, is to go to one of those Army-Navy games.
Well, in the next few years, which does it depend on the venue? Which place would you go to?
Doesn't really matter. I've always wanted to go to Philadelphia. I mean, they're all outdoor stadiums, so and that game's always, the first or second weekend in December. So it's going to be cold no matter when you go there. But I do know a guy that lives in the Washington, D.C. area that might be able to get tickets.
There you go. I think going to Boston would be cool next year, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Washington would be cool.
I've never been to New York City.
I haven't either.
I've been around there, but never actually in New York City. Been by Philadelphia. That's probably the closest one to us is Philadelphia, but still, I'd never gone there. Yeah. But yeah, that's a bucket list item for me, is to go to an Army-Navy game sometime. Okay, and let's see. The other story that came out of college is that 6 teams are leaving Conference USA on July 1st and joining the American Athletic Conference in time for the 2023 season. So those 6 teams are University of Alabama Birmingham, UNC Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, North Texas Rice, and the University of Texas San Antonio, the Roadrunners.
Ah, yes, the team you fell in love with last season.
Yeah, I did. I love their helmet. I love their logo. They had a great season. I was really rooting for them all season long. I think they lost in their bowl game wherever they played, but I kind of followed them last year. And there's been so many other changes. I didn't include all the other changes. They already know that there's other teams leaving and other teams that have come in, so it's quite a shakeup in a couple of these. I want to say lesser leagues. They're not the
Power 5.
The Power 5 is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So there's been a lot of movement over the last couple of years, and there'll probably be more. Years ago, I put together a nice little spreadsheet of all the different conferences at every division of football in college, and it is so out of date now.
I'm sure.
So many changes. I need to really sit down and go through all the websites again and say, okay, these are the teams in this conference. These are the East teams. These are the West. And just it's a quick reference thing that when I want to write about something and I want to know, what conference is this team in, I can go to my little spreadsheet and jump right to it. So it's just kind of a handy thing to have, but. Yeah, 6 teams jumping soon, but they don't actually begin playing until 2023. So this will be their last season in their current Conference USA conference. All right, Arena Football TV on YouTube. They posted a wonderful game this week from 1999. The Orlando Predators at the Grand Rapids Rampage. This was on something called the Sunshine Network, which I think was just down in Florida. I think it was like a cable system or something down there. I've heard of it, but I don't know that much about it.
They did a lot of college games down there, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. But 1999 is a long time ago. But Orlando was the defending AFL champions at the time, and their head coach was Jay Gruden, and that's basically all I know about the game. I don't know who won, but
you didn't watch the whole thing?
No, I watched the first few minutes of it to get a feel for what was going on, and they were gushing about the Grand Rapids quarterback, and Kuziak.
Oh yeah, Kuziak.
They were talking about how he came from Wisconsin Whitewater, I think, a Division III school, but he was at that time leading the league in passing and touchdowns and whatnot. So he was having a great year, and I think they were 5-3 at the time, and Orlando was 4-4. So. It sounds like it was going to be a really good game. And this was a year before we really got into the Rampage. We didn't start until 2000.
Right.
So this was, and they still had the pewter helmets on that particular broadcast. But it was so fun to see the cameras scan over the Van Andel Arena in Grand Rapids, looking at all the people.
I'll have to hop over there and check that out.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Grand Rapids Rampage.
Yes, I have a big thank you. I want to say, give a shout out and thank you to Gary Cobb, the curator of the Buffalo Destroyers Museum.com. He's a fellow Professional Football Researchers Association member who I've known for a few years. I saw him in Buffalo, New York back in April. They had a Western New York conference over there, and he was there, brought some of his displays. I took some displays, and I took along a big poster kind of thing that was from the TNN network, and it was all their nationally televised games that year. And of course, it had the Rampage logo on one side, and on the back they had all the TNN games. And Grand Rapids was on there, of course, and the Buffalo Destroyers had a game also. And when the meeting was over with, I gave that to Gary, and I said, "Hey, if you want this, you can have it. It's got the Buffalo Destroyers on the back," because he collects everything Buffalo Destroyers. And after that, he said, "Well, I've got a few things I can send you too." And it took him a while, which I didn't mind. I didn't know what all he had to send me, but I got this box the other day in the mail, and he sent me several items. I wasn't expecting this. He sent me some game tickets between the Rampage and the Destroyers, some pictures of players, mini helmet, Rampage mini helmet, and something that just floored me, a 2001 replica championship ring of the Grand Rapids Rampage encased in lucite. That is awesome.
That was cool. When I saw that, I couldn't believe it either.
Yeah,
I was like, what the?
It's good. I didn't even know. I mean, we were season ticket holders in 2001, and I never heard of this replica ring.
Right.
I would have bought one.
I would definitely begged you to get me one.
I didn't even know that they existed, so I don't know who made this. He said he found it on eBay and picked one up, but he sent it to me. I took a picture of it the other day, but I've not posted it yet. But I do want to post that on Facebook and Twitter. But that is just gorgeous. I love that. I can't thank Gary enough. Like I said, I gave him that poster, and I got so much more in return. Thank you, Gary. I can't thank you enough. Go visit BuffaloDestroyerMuseum.com and check out a lot of the memorabilia that he has in his personal collection of the Buffalo Destroyers Arena Football League team. So thank you, Gary, once again. I really, really appreciate all that. All right, today's birthday.
Well, can I
I'm
guess
sorry.
this is kind of breaking.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
guess it's an hour ago, so right before we got into recording, I guess I hadn't really... Normally, I'm looking at my phone. I'm glued at my phone looking for news.
You're never paying attention to me. You're looking at your phone.
But I just happened to look over at it, and we have some breaking news as Rob Gronkowski announces he is retiring from the NFL.
Again?
The 4-time Super Bowl champion tight end has spent 11 seasons with the Patriots and Buccaneers altogether. Obviously, he won Super Bowl 2 years ago, so I forget what Super Bowl they're on right now.
Yeah.
But he won it 2 years ago with the Buccaneers and Tom Brady, obviously. So, yeah, a little surprised he's retiring again.
How is that going to affect Brady this coming season?
Probably not
Not
at
having
all.
that big old target.
Probably not at all.
I mean, that's always been his go-to guy when you absolutely positively need a first down grab. That's who you go to.
Yeah, well,
and he
we'll see.
Rarely ever let you down.
Never doubt Tom Brady. I will no longer ever doubt Tom Brady or say he's aging anymore because the dude's a robot. So I'm sure whatever he needs to do, he's going to do it to get it done. Even
Well-
if it's 8 weeks into the season, he goes, "All right, Rob, you're coming back now."
Brady earlier this year said he was retiring, and what did it take? 31 days or
it
something
was like a
that?
month.
Yeah, and he came back. So I'm sure now that Brady's reading this like we're reading it online, he's probably already on the phone to Gronk, talking him into coming back for another season. I'll bet you.
We'll see.
We'll see if that
We'll see.
retirement stands or not, if Brady will let him retire. All right, today's birthday. Wade Phillips turned 75 years old today. He's a longtime NFL assistant coach, but also spent time as a head coach with the Denver Broncos, the Buffalo Bills, and the Dallas Cowboys. And he's also going to be a head coach in the XFL next year with the Houston team. He's the son of legendary Houston Oilers coach Bum Phillips. Now, I don't know, you probably don't remember Bum Phillips, but boy,
The name's familiar.
I sure do. He used to wear this huge 10-gallon white cowboy hat on the sideline.
I've seen all
wore
the
the
highlights,
cowboy
yeah.
boots, and that probably wouldn't fly today. No, you got to wear the league-approved.
Shoot, the NFL fined Jim Harbaugh for wearing a suit that one time.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
But he was such a character. They loved him down there in Houston. He had some really great teams with the Houston Oilers over the years, and just a really colorful character.
We need more of that in the NFL.
We sure do. We sure do.
Stinking no fun league.
So happy birthday, Wade Phillips, 75 years old today.
Yet another example of the sterilization of the NFL. Bring back cowboy hats and fedoras.
That's right. Yeah, every Houston Texans and Dallas Cowboy coach should be wearing cowboy hats on the
They
sideline.
should. They should be allowed to do that. Let people come back and wear the Dick Butkus. No, who am I thinking of?
Dick Vermeil?
Not Dick Vermeil. The Bears coach,
Mike Ditka.
Mike Ditka sticking sweater. Let somebody come back and rock the sweater vest.
Yeah.
I want the suits back. Dang it! I want to see guys. If a coach wants to rock a suit, let him rock a suit for goodness sake.
Force that team apparel on the assistant coaches, but the head coach should be able to wear whatever he wants. If he wants to wear a suit, let him.
If he wants to
wear a cowboy hat and
let
boots, let him. What difference does it make?
If you want to let him, I'd let him chomp a cigar on the sidelines. I don't care about that.
The whole stadium's probably no smoking, so you can't do
Probably.
that. But anyway. All right. Luckily, I did not run across any obituaries this week, so it's always a good week.
Rare for that to happen, but hey, we always kind of be thankful that week.
Yes.
Like, hey, thank goodness we didn't have to talk about,
losing
somebody.
Yep. Okay. Well, you already talked about some breaking news, so I guess we will go right into this week's history lesson.
Yeah.
And this week, thanks to you, we're going to talk about 6 NFL teams that have never so far had a league MVP. The NFL is over 100 years old, but the selection of a league most valuable player, as voted on by the Associated Press, did not begin until 1957. Of the current 32 NFL teams, all but 6 have been honored with a league MVP. A couple of those teams might surprise you, and no, the Detroit Lions are not on this list. The first team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Founded in 1995 along with the Carolina Panthers, both teams advanced to their respective conference championship games in just their second seasons. Quarterback Cam Newton won the award for the Panthers in 2015, but after 27 seasons, Jacksonville is still looking for a league MVP. Next is the Houston Texans. They are the newest team in the NFL, playing their first season in 2002. The team has made the playoffs 6 times. The last time was in 2019. No MVPs yet. Next is the Arizona Cardinals. This team started out as the Chicago Cardinals and was an original member of the NFL when it was formed in 1920. They won NFL titles in 1925 and 1947. Then they became the St. Louis Cardinals from 1960 to 1987 before moving to Arizona in 1988. They made a Super Bowl appearance in 2008 with now Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner. At number 4 on the list is the New Orleans Saints. They played their first season in 1967, but did not have a winning record for their first 20 years before posting a 12-3 regular season record in 1987. They won a Super Bowl in 2009 with Drew Brees at quarterback. Number 5 is the New York Jets. The team began as the New York Titans in 1960 as an original member of the American Football League and became the Jets in 1963. Their Super Bowl III win came when they were not members of the NFL. Since the merger in 1970, the team has made the playoffs 12 times. Their last playoff appearance was in 2010. Number 6 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The team started out with an 0-26 record before winning the last 2 games of the 1977 season and was the joke of the league for its first few years. But since that time, the team has won 2 Super Bowls in 2002 and 2020, and now features the one and only Tom Brady, who has been named league MVP 3 times with the New England Patriots in 2007, 2010, and 2017. Could they be close to having their own MVP in the near future? We shall see. Since the Associated Press NFL MVP award was first handed out in 1957, the Green Bay Packers have had the most league MVPs with 10. The Baltimore/Indianapolis Colts have had 9, and the San Francisco 49ers have had 5. 2 teams, the Cleveland Browns and the St. Louis/LA Rams, have had 4 MVPs. 5 other teams have had 3, and 4 teams have had 2. 11 teams have had 1 MVP each. What will it take for Jacksonville, Houston, Arizona, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, and the Jets to have a league MVP? Well, since 21 MVPs have been quarterbacks and 10 were running backs, I would start with adding the best possible candidates at one of those positions.
Yeah, just seeing those 6 teams all together, you're a little surprised because you could go through and pretty much pick a guy from each of those teams. How did that guy not win a league MVP in all his time. Like, you think of Houston, you think of J.J. Watt. How did he might have been Defensive Player of the Year, but how did he not become the most valuable player of the league? You got Tampa Bay, and they've had some great players over the years, like your Warren Saps, your trying to think, Mike Allstott, like, was one of the greatest fullbacks of all time, and now you got Tom Brady playing there.
Right.
Like, how has Tom Brady not won the league MVP the last couple of years? I know Aaron Rodgers has gotten the last couple.
He won it 3 times with New England.
Yeah,
You would think that would carry over.
You'd think they'd be gushing over it, like, especially the year he was taking Tampa to the playoffs. The first year he's there, like, you'd think. But, hey, whatever. What was the other teams you had here? The Jaguars, they've had a couple of good guys over the years, like Maurice Jones-Drew at one point.
Yeah, they're relatively new, though.
It's still relatively new, but, I mean, like you mentioned, the Panthers got Cam Newton an MVP.
Right.
And those teams came in at the same time, and he got an MVP first. So, and now could it be Trevor Lawrence someday? I mean, who knows? I mean, a lot of these teams got some bright spots. The Jets have gotten a lot of good young talent now.
Yep.
I'm surprised that no Jets have ever gotten it. They've had guys throughout the years, too.
Like I said in my piece here, they won Super Bowl III, but they were an AFL team at that time. Yeah. And since the merger, not too much.
Right. But still, it's just crazy to me. Like, you see the list of teams, and it's also shocking to see what teams have had league MVPs. Because, like, you'd think of some of these franchises, like, how has a team like the Saints who've had Drew Brees, or how have the, New York Jets not had an MVP throughout their long history in the league. But then, like, a team like the Detroit Lions and Cleveland Browns, who've been essentially feudal, doormats in the league. How they got an MVP?
The Lions had Barry Sanders. He won a league MVP, and Jim Brown won multiple times.
I mean, obviously, we know they're great and they deserved them, but it's just. But when you hear about that now, and you're thinking, like, really, the Lions have a league MVP before, these other franchises. So.
Yep. It's interesting.
It's interesting, and hey, maybe you could start crossing some of these teams off in the coming years.
Yeah, we might be, crossing off the Bucks from this list if Tom Brady has another
It's just another thing to keep up there with the 4 teams who have never played in a Super Bowl list. Like, I can't wait to start crossing those teams off that list.
There you go. So thanks for bringing this to my attention, and that was a decent history lesson to put together. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, lastly today, upcoming events calendar. Sunday, July 3rd, the USFL Championship game in Canton. We will be there, and we'll have a full report the Tuesday after that game on everything we did that particular day. Thursday, August 4th, the Pro Football Hall of Fame game in Canton at the very same stadium we're going to on the 3rd. It's going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Las Vegas Raiders in the Hall of Fame game this year. And then on Thursday, September 8th, the NFL regular season kicks off with the Buffalo Bills at the LA Rams. Can't wait for that game.
Yeah.
And
that's almost here.
Yeah.
And I also saw, I don't know if you saw it, did you see some of these spy pics that have come out of some of the NFL camps today?
No.
Or the last couple of days? Some brand new futuristic helmets have been worn by some players. I'm not sure the exact name of these helmets, but yeah, they're
I've not seen those.
Definitely some new style helmets some players are rocking. Some more of like we're starting to see more and more of not the gaps, but like they're a little more, see if I can find, here's like a weird close-up of one of the Cardinals helmets. But so people have been noticing some more futuristic helmets out there on the practice field. Because, that is a little weird. Like, if you look at the face mask, I know we're an audio podcast, so that's hard to talk about here. But, I mean, so there's some new helmets floating around out there, which is really weird.
Do you know what manufacturer that is?
I have no idea. I haven't read any pieces on it. I mean, I could skim it real quick. I haven't seen an official name. The NFL Rydell Speed Flex has been the staple.
So it's right. Well,
it's a new design called the Axiom that will likely replace the previous model. So the Axiom is got a factory installed visor, new elliptical face mask, and the first ever standard impact response system. So for the first time since the Speed Flex in 2014, Rydell has officially introduced a new football helmet, the Axiom. So that was back in January they introduced this helmet, and now select college teams are set to use this in the spring this year, and now all of a sudden we see some NFL teams rocking it. And here's like a picture of Ezekiel Elliott wearing his. So I'm sure we'll have to be on the lookout for some more of these Axioms popping up.
Yeah.
I guess J.J. Watt and Buda Baker rocking those same style helmets at Cardinals camp. So at least 3 players right now in the NFL rocking them. And I'm not going to say I love them, but hey, as long as they're doing the job of
protecting the
player's helmet, I'm all for it. They do look a little weird, but hey, we get used to these new helmets all the time.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them I know you still can't get over, but
yeah, I like my nice, plain, simple, smooth-looking helmet. But yeah, every manufacturer, every time they come out with something new, they've got to make it look different so that when you see them on the field, you know that that's our helmet or
that's
our brand.
Axiom.
And I don't really care for all those, but.
Hey, I'm sure there's some helmet junkie at the Pro Football Researchers Association that's gushing over this stuff. So don't you go knocking it.
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying I'm not a fan so far.
I'm not in a rush to get an Axiom mini helmet of the Detroit Lions. So.
No. Okay. Anything else?
No, that should be it on my side.
Okay. Well, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also like The World of Football on Facebook at TWOF Kalamazoo. You can also follow our Twitter account. The address there is also TWOF Kalamazoo, but you got to throw that little @ sign at the front of it. Mm-hmm. New episodes of this podcast are posted every Tuesday and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find the full audio version of this podcast on our YouTube channel, if that is how you prefer to listen to it. Our YouTube channel is The World of Football Kalamazoo, so if you just type that into your search bar, you'll be able to find us, because we still need to get some more followers and subscribers, and then eventually we can get like a custom URL thing going. But until then, that's how you find us. So please subscribe, rate, review, let us know what you think. Leave a comment, tell your friends, and come be a part of the football conversation, because we greatly appreciate it. And every time we put up a video, even though it's pretty sparse other than the weekly Tuesday podcast, we get some decent feedback, some nice feedback for people. We appreciate it, and we just I want us to make better videos. I know you don't care about the YouTube channel as much as I do, but I think we could be pumping up some more content. So I'm trying to get Randy to do it, everybody. He's stubborn and set in his ways.
Yeah. I had something else I was going to mention. Now I can't remember what it was.
Was it about some video ideas for our YouTube channel that could desperately use them?
Next week is episode number 250 for this podcast.
Yes,
and I didn't know if you had anything special that you think we should do next week.
I don't know. You tell me.
I don't really have a special history lesson set aside yet. Not sure what we're going to do, but we'll come up with something.
It'll probably be your basic standard, episode.
Every run-of-the-mill stuff. We'll just be phoning it in like we have for the last 4 years, going on 5 years
I mean,
now.
shoot, I don't know if you want to do something special. I don't know. Normally you pull out those history lessons where it's just a discussion, but I don't know. Maybe we could do something fun for number 250.
We'll see. But yeah, come back next week and check out episode 250 of this podcast. And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than Adam and myself. Until next time, I'm Randy Snow.
And it'll be my 250th episode, but it'll be Randy's 249th episode,
there
just for the record.
There it is.
I held on to that all episode long.
Yeah, thank you. Could have held on it a little bit longer till after you
thought
hit the
about
stop
it, but I
button.
couldn't miss this opportunity.
We'll see you all next week.